Sinong babayad ng utang ngayon?
Future generation.
Yung lahat ng tao na bumibili ng na subject to tax, subject to excise tax, subject to VAT. Galing sa VAT yan. So everybody who buys anything na nagbabayad ng VAT, nagko-contribute yan.
As yung sinasabi mo na cup half full about the economy, it's not actually full. No? Dahil saan nanggagaling yung sinasabi mong growth? Nanggagaling yan sa remittances. Na record high. Saan nanggagaling yan? No? Doon sa mga rent-seeking sections ng ating economy. Di ba? Saan nanggagaling yan? Government spending, consumption. No? Yung mga fundamentals ng ating ekonomiya are not growing. Where is agriculture? Where is industry? Where is manufacturing? No? Where are the direct investments? No? Yun yung dapat nating tignan. No? Dahil fastest growing ka, pero hindi nararamdaman ng tao. Diba?
Yeah. I have a problem with that. Fastest growing. Bakit tayo? We're going down in the ranking. We've been overtaken by Vietnam.
Indonesia.
Malapit na tayo overtake ng Cambodia.
Sana naman yung Cambodia. Parang isara na natin yung shop. It's okay na, tapos na. Sorry, Justice. I mean, I love Cambodia. I'm just saying.
15 years ago, people said, no, Vietnam can never overtake us. It's just overtaken us.
Halimbawa, ang learning poverty ng Vietnam is 21%. Ang learning poverty natin is 91%.
Sir Ronald, you cannot compare kasi Vietnam is top 10 in science and math.
Yes, engineering.
Vietnam is like way above its economic development.
But in the 60s, tayo ang the best. Halimbawa sa engineering. Lahat ng mga engineering students dito sa region, dito pupunta. Management students dito pupunta.
Philippine Rice Institute sa Los Baños.
Ang agriculture, saan sila pupunta? Dito, sa Erie. No? So, sinasabi ko lang na we have to fix our house. No?
Now, speaking of fixing the house, so essentially, siguro I think all of us can agree that lack of inclusive economic development, all of itong mga problema nakita natin, lack of safety, ito ay reflection ng something rotten about our political system or leadership to be. Now, speaking of how things are rotten, just the other day we saw in South Korea, they impeached the one president who dared in recent memory to play the Cold War, playbook of ito mga North Koreans yan. We have to. So sobrang paya siya. Even the party mates of Kim Jong-un nang tawag sa kanya, President Yoon, voted against him eventually after a first try. And kanina lang umaga, grabe yung celebration in Korea, around the parliament, etc.
Baka makulong pa yan. Hindi lang
makulong pa yan. The defense minister has already been arrested. Now, as crazy as the martial law was, it mas wonderful pa yung pushback at saka yung mobilization. And Korea transitioned to democracy a year or two after we returned to democracy. They never had democracy before that. We had democracy, then returned to it. So, bakit ganyan yung political system natin compared to Korea? Just I want to understand first from your point of view before we go to Antonio Gramsci and our senor. From your, what's exceptionally problematic with our political system kumpara sa mga bansa na yan? Because Vietnam is a one-party communist system. Korea is a two-party democratic system. And yet, lahat sila nagpa-progress. Something is going right. Ano yung wala sa atin sa palagay niyo, Justice?
Well, the majority of the people are educated enough to understand what's happening.
So, critical thinking.
Yeah, critical thinking. We had that before because we were electing good people to the Senate.
Jovito Salonga.
Yeah, I mean, noon, they will vote for somebody who's brilliant, who has a good track record. Ngayon, ang track record ngayon, papakita nila, convicted sila, nananalo pa rin. So, I think...
Hindi sana magaling sila. Ibang wise. Yeah.
I think that's holding us back because I think the media dumbed down the people.
Yeah. Sensationalist.
Yeah, because yung nagkaroon sila ng ratings war, dati 'di ba every TV show, every movie may there's a moral to the story.
Yeah.
A moral lesson to everything. Ngayon wala na eh. Magpatawa ka lang, okay ka na eh. Kahit regardless of what's the purpose, wala eh. Dati there's always a message. A message that good will prevail over bad. Ganyan palagi eh. Ngayon wala na. So wala na yung value system natin. The South Koreans have that value system. We have lost that value
Yung
system.
norms, no?
Yes.
Yung norms,
oh.
yeah.
The Japanese also have that.
The
no?
Japanese have a value
Taiwan,
system.
yeah.
Tayo, nawala yung value system. Because media just had a ratings war. So wala na. Kung nagpapatawa ka, slapstick, yun na ang criterion ngayon.
Sir Ronald, ikaw, I mean, it's not like wala rin corporate media yung ibang bansa, no? Again, none of us are media experts. Alam mo, mababash na naman ako, di ba? What was exceptionally wrong? I mean, we had one of our guests, di ba, ay dating nag-work sa ABS-CBN tapos lumabas pa, tapos dahil inisign siya sa nangyari sa TV Patrol. Patay, sensationalist, chika-chika, di ba? Tapos yung paggamit ng Ingles. Wala namang problema na gamitin natin ng Tagalog, Bisaya, Ilocano. Pero dati yung paggamit ng Ingles sa ating media ay normal, di ba? Or at least may subtitle. Natanggal lahat yan. So, you use the term guardrails. Parang wala na rin guardrails sa media. Anything basta rating wars.
Yeah. That's an important aspect ng ating problema. Itong culture wars, di ba?
Yeah.
Pero yan
or
kasi,
cultural deterioration.
yes, pero ito kasi ay hindi standalone.
Yeah.
May symbiotic relationship yan sa ating political system
Right.
at sa ating economic system.
Right.
They perpetuate each other, di ba?
Right.
Itong
Mutually,
mga system na
mutually
ito, di ba?
constitutive, yeah.
Kaya, halimbawa, indicative, no? Party list. It was supposed to be for marginalized sectors. It's now dominated by billionaires, no?
Yeah.
Yung aspeto na yan. Tingnan mo yung salin ng mga nasa party list kayo.
Declared pa yan.
Oh, these are billionaires, no? These are contractors. Tingin ng mga contractors, imbis na magbibigay kami sa mga politiko, no?
Diretso
Kami
na
na lang, diretso na. Kaya ang dami ngayong mga congressmen, mga party list na mga contractors, no? Punta tayo sa mas malalim, mas pervasive. 80% ng ating politicians are linked sa mga dynasties. At yung mga dynasties nakalink sa mga cartels who control our agriculture, who control our industries, no? Itong halimbawa, classic ngayon yung regulatory capture, halimbawa sa energy. Only one family controls all those regulatory institutions from DOE to Fiscal to NEA to ERC, etc. So, ngayon ako nakakita ng ganyan. Dati may competition pa eh. So, these are reflections ng ating political system. At in a way, yung ating economic system. At kaya yung culture natin, ganyan din, no?
Yeah.
Most of those who control our political and economic system also control our media. Diba? Control.
Incestuous relationships.
Yes, yan yung problema. Kaya hindi ko siya sasabihin na ito lang ang problema. Lahat yan ay may relasyon sa isa't isa.
Parang na-criticize ka ni Ronald, sir. Parang sabi niya hindi malalim yung sinabi. Paawayin ko kayong dalawa. I'm just kidding.
Our problem now is the political dynasties.
Right.
Yeah.
Sabi ng saligang batas, Congress must pass a law prohibiting or regulating political dynasties. They've never passed that law. Ilang taon na, mga almost 40 years na.
Yes.
Yung party list naman sa saligang batas nakalagay doon. For the first 3 terms, there will be a party list system to be composed exclusively of marginalized sector.
Yeah.
But dapat doon nagkaroon ng political dynasty law para buksan na lahat kasi the Constitution limited the party list system only to 3 terms. How do you now assure na the marginalized will continue through the anti-political dynasty law?
Yes.
Hindi nila pinasa yung anti-political dynasty law. So, walang guardrails.
Yeah.
Law.
In the meantime, sabi ng Supreme Court, and I wrote that, tapos na yung 3 years. Dapat niyang buksan na lahat
Three
yan.
terms.
Kaya lang, yung katapat doon, dapat yung guardrail doon, yung anti-dynasty law, hindi pinasa. Kaya nagkaletse-letse tayo.
May sinasabi sila, Justice, na kahit wala yung implementing rules, no? May sapat daw na component yung
For executive order or
constitutional
something?
provision sa Constitution against dynasties para na-implement na yon. May nagsasabi ng ang tawag nila, may term silang tawag eh. No?
Well,
Yeah.
there is, sabi nila, there is already a law because of the Kabataang Barangay.
Yeah.
May
Right.
prohibition on relatives. No?
Right.
Well, we can try that, no? But I doubt if no, it can go either way. But what we should do is pressure Congress. There's a petition now sa Supreme Court by the group of Rico Domingo asking the Supreme Court to order the Congress to pass the law. Matagal na eh. Nakalagay naman, Congress shall enact law prohibiting or regulating political
But with
dynasty.
80% of Congress related directly or indirectly sa dynasty, is that feasible?
Yes.
Diba?
Ang gagawin dapat, at least, we hope that the Supreme Court will say, Congress, you are mandated, you have to pass the law. No, sobra ng katagal. And then the people can pressure.
Right.
Alam mo, this will work if only the people will pressure. Pag natutulog tayo, walang mangyari.
Pero pwede bang gawin ng Supreme Court yun?
Because the Supreme Court is just following the Constitution, Congress shall. So the Supreme Court will just repeat that. Congress, you shall. So it's time now to pass it now.
So you still believe that it could work if there's bottom-up
Yeah,
pressure?
but there will be more pressure now on Congress kasi sinabi ng Supreme Court na you have to pass it now. So there will be pressure now. So
Yes.
I hope the Supreme Court will
say that.
Will say that. You have to pass it now kasi ang tagal na. Grave abuse of discretion na yan. Pwedeng sabihin ng Supreme Court yan.
But Justice, let me push back a little bit because one concern raised also with the Supreme Court is that, I mean, no offense to the institution represented, is that over the years, it also didn't necessarily act as an arbiter of progress. That sometimes it reinforced or enabled the system. One of the criticism is dun sa verdict ng Supreme Court on the party list issue. What constitutes a marginalized groups and who can represent the marginalized groups? What is your take on that?
Well,
that your institution, former institution, enabled the perpetuation or deterioration of the system?
Doon sa party list naman, we just follow the Constitution. The Constitution says for the first 3 terms of Congress, there will be party list composed of marginalized.
Right.
So, for the first 3 terms lang. After that, nag-expire na. So, we said, nag-expire na yung ano.
So, you open up.
Ang sinasabi ni Justice, there could have been guardrails.
The
At
guardrail
yung anti-dynasty provision ng Constitution.
Na ang
would be the
akin
guardrail.
kasi is, can the Supreme Court engage in positive legislation? Because we see in the US sometimes the Supreme Court pushes the envelope when there's a paralysis and all of that.
ang hirap kasi...
Activist Supreme Court, in effect, I'm pushing for, yeah.
Positive, sabihin ng Supreme Court, klaro yung sinabi ng Constitution for the first 3 terms. Ang katapat niyan is the anti-dynasty law. Ipasa na ninyo yan. Yun ang activist Supreme Court.
Activist Supreme Court. Yun nga I was thinking about that. Okay, so that opens up this conversation of some people have just given up. Like, this is not gonna work. Let's go for charter change. Because soon we'll talk about the impeachment issue. For a moment, let's park the impeachment issue. Let's say, hypothetically, Sara gets impeached, let's say by January. I know you don't believe that will happen, but let's say, let's go with the Ronald Llamas school of thought, right? Senor Llamas.
That's not my school.
Ikaw January, I think Trillanes is May, right? Ako, sabing ko May, pero hindi ko na along taon. Yung excuse natin. Sanabi ko September, but not what year. Just kidding, But going back to this, let's just say for some reason, smooth operation, wala na yung mga Dutertes. Now suddenly, Pogi said after elections, they go for charter change. Why should we say no to that? In the sense that maybe charter change is the only way forward. Kasi wala eh. This system is unreformable na eh. Na baka you need to reset the deck. What are our issues there, Justice?
Ako, I'm for charter change provided it is a constitutional convention. Not the House. Yeah. Kasi that's not the House
Not
of...
CONAS.
Not Congress. Because
Yeah.
CONAS, that's
Insider's game.
insider's game. That's self-interest yun.
Yeah.
It has to be a new body elected
From people.
and I think there will be a new sentiment now, no? Pag if we at saka dapat yung election hindi by district kasi kung by district yung asawa lang ng congressman matakbo niya,
Right.
it should by region.
Right.
Because the last in the 1970 Constitutional Convention election, by province eh.
Yeah.
Tsaka Metro Manila was considered one province.
Right.
So madaming nakapasok na mga doktor, mga
Professionals.
professionals. But if you will make it by district, the same family will be elected.
Yes, yes.
So-
I agree with Justice Carpio na dapat talaga constitutional convention, no? Yung
So you're okay in theory or in principle with the
pero
con-con?
pero dapat dagdagan 'yon dahil if you legislate if you change the political system, halimbawa to a federal system overnight, you will be federating warlordism. You will be federating social
They'll be
inequality.
kings of their own, little
Dapat
kings.
merong minimum reforms before that happens,
Yeah.
no? You will create enclaves of poverty and enclaves of wealth. Yun yung mangyayari. Then, dapat dyan may economic
equalization muna.
may feasibility study dyan eh. Ano bang mga regions yung on their own hindi kakayanin? Ano yung mga regions na
Which is
sobra?
majority.
Oo.
I mean, we in NCR actually are funding most of the
Yes.
provinces, including Davao.
Dahil ang mga successful federal system, nagsimula sila as self-governing bodies eh.
Malaysia, Switzerland,
Na federate.
Oh, yeah.
Yun yung strength niyan eh. Or halimbawa, yung matagal nang hinihingi na i-disband ng private armies. Kung hindi yan madi-disband, they will be dominating the federal system.
Yeah.
Ang parliamentary system naman is good. Pero ang parliamentary system is based on real political parties. Hindi yung mga parties na nabuo
Okay,
overnight.
but Ronald,
Like last
that
election.
raises a chicken or egg question.
Oh.
You want to come in? Yeah. Ito na, mainit na yung discussion.
Federalism naman, may analysis is that it will not pass in a constitutional convention because, let's say, only 2 or 3 regions will be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
All the rest will be waiting for dole out from the national government.
Fiscal transfers.
They will not agree. Let's say Abra, yung northern Luzon, they will not agree to become a federal system, federal state, because they will have to raise their own
Hindi pa handa.
budget.
Hindi pa kami handa.
And no, they don't generate enough taxes there. They rely on the IRA, national.
Yeah.
In fact, only I think three areas in the I think Metro Manila, Cebu, and partly Davao
Yeah.
will be self-sufficient. All the rest will be waiting for
Fiscal transfers. Yeah.
fiscal transfers.
Yeah.
So I don't think it will pass.
Pero Justice, ang naman kasi iba-ibang models yan eh. Halimbawa, you have a French centralist system which is more and more becoming federal. And you have other federal system which is becoming more and more centralist.
Well, it's always a hybrid,
So
right?
it's always a hybrid.
Yeah, it's always hybrid. Yeah.
Well, under the local government code, because that's part of the constitution, local LGUs have the power to raise taxes. They have so much power,
Yeah.
but they don't use it.
Yeah.
They can regulate so many things, but they don't use it. So, kasi what is a federal system? You have just downloaded central power to the localities, to the
Yeah.
regions. We have downloaded so much already under the local government code.
Devolution. Yeah.
Devolution lang yan eh. Without the corresponding branches of government. Kasi if you are a state, federal state, you have to have your president, you have to have your own legislature, your own judiciary. Napaka-expensive yun.
Yeah. You
Doon
create
po
new
pa- doon
institutions.
But what we did,
Yeah.
we removed those layers of government. We just gave them the power to enact
Yes.
taxes, mga kung ano. So they had the power, but they don't use it.
Doon pumapasok yung sinasabi nyo, Justice eh. Yung guardrails, yung affirmative action, which is basically anti-dynasty. Paano kahit mag-devolve ka, kung ang
Exactly,
kukuha
yeah.
ng power na yon are the same warlords, the same dynasties, etc. Talagang hindi magde-develop.
Kaya nga, I
yung lugar.
always use the Rubik's Cube
Hindi
metaphor.
mo
Eh.
develop
Na you
ka.
cannot get all the green here if you don't make multiple moves. Akala ng tao, isang magic bullet, just make it federal, everything will be fine.
Or meron kang significant transition program na
So you have to get all the
hindi ka mag full devolution overnight, di ba? Dahil ba sa BARM ngayon, the problem is a skill set ng mga nandun eh. No? Walang capacity to
Managerial,
govern, to
public
manage,
administration,
etc. Wala, yung modernity ay hindi pa umaabot eh. Yung sistema halimbawa dyan sa parts of Mindanao ay pre-modern eh. No? Kaya yun, hino-haunt yung meron kang modern form, pero yung substance is pre-modern, which means feudal. No? Hinahati-hati yung naging yung unang arm, naging problema yan eh. Dahil hinahati-hati yung budget sa mga clans, sa mga family. No? Dati nagreklamo sa akin isang international agency. Sabi nila, nagbigay kami ng 30 million. No, pinaghati-hatian lang ng mga members ng MNLF. No, ganun yung nangyayari. So, the substance have to change not only the form.
I understand. But sir, at the same time, we have this political reality na may grievance talaga. This sense of abandonment by Mindanao, which the Dutertes have been very good in weaponizing into creation of a solid South, right? We used to have that in Ilocos, in the North, yung solid North, yung idea ni Marcoses na we're the marginalized, na ito mga taga-Manik. So, how do you deal with that weaponized sense of disenfranchisement and marginalization? Kasi logically in-explain natin na actually tinutulungan nga namin kayo as it stands. Ang problema niyo sa Mindanao ay hindi lang mga politiko dito, yung mga kurakot na warlords niyo dyan. But at the same time, there is this emotional sense of abandonment.
Yes.
How do we deal that? That's political. Hindi na to logical, fiscal.
Parang natatabunan lahat
Yeah, exactly. Yun nga
us against the world, us against Imperial Manila. No? Without hindi pinag-uusapan yung institusyon na kailangan itayo, hindi pinag-uusapan yung culture na kailangan baguhin, hindi pinag-uusapan yung guardrails na pinag-uusapan natin ngayon. No?
Scapegoating.
Yung there was a decision recently by the Supreme Court that the ERA will be based on all the internal revenue taxes, kasama na yung import duties. Right. So, malaki na. Their ERA will grow by about anywhere from 20 to 40%. So that will really be a second wave of money from the center going down
to the periphery.
Yeah. ang problema dito, even before the Mandanas ruling, 80% of the budget of municipalities, most municipalities, come from the ERA.
Already.
So they don't really, tinatanong ko, how much taxes do you collect from real estate? Sabi nila, maliit lang yung real estate namin. Because sa local level, they don't want to raise taxes.
Natatakot sila magka-backlash.
Yeah, political backlash. Hindi sila i-elect. So they will just rely on the ERA. But the ERA comes from the 3 regions that are really the economic centers. So, if that is their attitude, walang mangyari.
Yes, exactly.
And nakaka-capture pa, whatever is given sa ERA, nakaka-capture ng political dynasty.
And nothing goes down.
Nothing goes down.
And the blame goes to us in Manila.
And the blame goes to us. Actually, the center, the Manila has devolved everything already.
Yes.
Because the essence of that is really the ERA. Ang laki ng ERA nila ngayon. That's why the executive department has to prune down. Wala na silang their budget will go down. So, ang problema ngayon is now the political side. Because the money goes down pero kinakapture ng
So,
political
essentially, naging
dynasties.
predatory middlemen yung LGU leaders dahil our subsidies to our mga probinsya ay kinakain nila. Essentially, that's what's happening.
They just wait. They don't raise taxes. They don't collect taxes.
So how do we break that cycle na essentially naging predatory middleman ang mga LGU leaders dyan? No?
Baka kailangan ng 8 hours na episode.
Give us a preview of the next 8 episodes.
The first thing is really to pass that anti-political dynasty law. Kasi yun yung basic
So step by
framework.
step tayo, sequencing. Step by step, okay.
Because the dynasties also control the cartels.
Yes.
Kasi sila yung kukuha doon eh.
Can of worms kasi yan. Can of worms. Ikaw, RJ, anong take mo sa anong take mo sa charter change? Anong kailangan ba natin baguhin yung ating saligang batas?
Marunong ka ba sumayaw ng cha-cha? O tango gusto?
Si Ramos pa nagsimula yung cha-cha, di ba? Ikaw, sa tingin mo kailangan baguhin? Ano bang narinig mo dyan?
Parliament?
Or federal, ano sa tingin mo? Or sa tingin mo meron pa rin ano yan?
Gusto mo ba na yung mga politiko ang boboto ng head of government o gusto mo ikaw ang boboto?
Nung bagong gobyerno.
Gusto
ko.
So, con.
Yes.
Constitutional convention.
Culture ng mga tao.
In other words,
Mahirap na nga kami, hindi pa kami pwede boboto.
They want the presidential system. Yung pa rin. That's really the majority view.
Yes.
So why not have it like German system whereby you have a president pero more ceremonial and then you have a You have a parliamentary...
Pero yun nga yung role ng political education. People don't understand that eh. Ang alam ng tao, hindi ko iboboto yung presidente. Ang boboto mga politiko rin.
Yeah.
Ba't ko ibibigay sa kanila?
Yeah.
Hindi na ipapaliwanag yung...
So sense of agency,
Oh.
which is understandable.
Yes.
So, Justice, again, speaking of education, can you just very simply explain the difference ng CONAS sa CONCON at ano yung mga examples or precedents? Kasi we used
Yeah.
CONCON for 1987, right? Yeah.
The Constituent Assembly
Constitutional Assembly.
to change or amend the Constitution, the proposal will come from the Congress.
Right. 2/3
Uh,
joint?
Three-fourths.
Three-fourths, sorry.
Three-fourths,
Three-fourths, yeah.
voting separately or not,
Hindi rin
issue pa.
Yeah, issue pa yun.
But three-fourths vote of Congress, and then it will be submitted to the people for ratification.
Plebiscite.
Plebiscite lang yan, majority lang yan.
50% plus 1.
So that is the
CONAS.
CONAS. Yung Constitutional Convention, the people will elect delegates from either district or region, and then the delegates will draft the law, submit it to the people for ratification. For
So the
plebiscite.
difference essentially is who drafts
Yes.
what will be going through the
The sentence
referendum.
Yes.
So in both cases, may say ang tao, pero yung isa, mas maraming say ang tao sa CONCON,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Okay, so how
Because Congress and the Senate were not elected, no, for that skill
Yeah.
set.
Right.
No, parang sila sabi, kung magkakaroon ng gagawa niyan, dapat yung alam na para diyan talaga ang
At
kanilang
saka-
role.
At saka
no?
yung conflict of interest.
Yes.
No?
of course they will hijack it for their own purpose,
Yes.
diba? So parang hindi mo pwede baguhin isang bagay kung gagamitin mo yung bagay na ayaw magpabago ng sarili.
Yeah. The most important issue is to prohibit now because if you just say again, Congress shall pass anti-political dynasty law, walang mangyari. So dapat yung convention na mismo.
Yeah. Yes.
But if you ask the Congress itself to be the constituent assembly, they will never do it.
So parang you cannot face the problem if the problem is your face.
Yeah.
Now, Sir Roland, so bakit ganun nangyari?
Halimbawa, 71, no?
Yeah.
Yung mga sinasabi ni Justice na, ito yung mga sumulpot, ito yung mga sumikat, the Raul Rocco, the Nelly Pimentel, no? Yung hindi bahagi ng traditional warlord, traditional clans, traditional dynasty system. May ganun tsansa. Yung mga Richard Haydarian, pwedeng makilala sa isang constitutional convention.
Ayun pala eh.
Oh, yung mga ganun,
I
di
think
ba?
we have already...
Oh.
No, but Sir Ronald, nevertheless, yun nga eh, hindi pa rin natin, well, medyo nasagot natin, pero we still cannot explain kasi we still have the same system of government, but we went from Jovito Salonga to Robin Hood Padilla. No offense. Because I'm talking about number ones. Well, I have nothing against Robin Hood Padilla. Oh, sige. Jovito Salonga to Bong Revilla to Robin Hood Padilla. Ikaw ang best friend niya. So, it goes back to sensationalization of media. Nag-deteriorate ba yung education system natin? Or is it because, and I'll try to be the devil's advocate in a good way, for the people, for the masses. Kasi sinasabi ng masa, ang dami namin nilagay na matalino dyan, wala rin naman nangyari. Yung iba kurakot pa, sorry tita. Alam mo naman, yung isang presidente na tita natin. Si Arroyo, napakatalino. So, yun yung thinking ng tao na ayaw namin na matalino. Essentially, nagkaroon ng anti-competency, anti-merit. Not even anti-merit, hindi ba intellectual yung mga point. So, how do we deal with that? Yung idea na, ay, mga matatalino, gamitin lang yung talino sa sarili nilang interest. Of course, I disagree with that sentiment. But the sentiment comes from frustration, right? Hindi ba siguro nagkulang tayo na explain sa tao, ano ba, like for instance, Justice or Secretary, I don't even think people know ano ba trabaho ng senador. Ang trabaho ng senador ay hindi magbigay ng ayuda or,
sabi nga ni Willie Revillame, nung in-interview siya, di ba?
Oh, exactly.
Tinatanong, anong gagawin mo sa Senado? Pero kung tinatanong, di pa nga ako panalo. No?
Doon na lang niya
sabihin, most politicians tumatakbo nang hindi malinaw sa kanila ano yung talagang trabaho nila. Di ba?
Which is a problem.
Oh,
Which is a problem.
Yun nga, sinasabi nga ni Justice, before, yung mga tumatakbo, merong stature, may wherewithal, no? Nagkuha kanya, nagpipili-booster for 2-3 days, di ba? Yung mga senador dati. Ngayon, kaya bang magsalita nila Bongo? Ng 30,
kaya nila 2 days.
30
pero
minutes?
hindi ko mag-guarantee after first minute kung may sense.
Sila Lito Lapid, kaya ba nila magsalita? Sila Bong Revilla, no? Dun sa...
Hindi salitang problema ko eh. Substance.
Napapanood ko ng bata ako eh. No, walang mga binabasa. Talaga extemporaneous.
Talaga, like Roman Senate talaga.
Diba?
Cicero,
They will
Seneca.
debate, di ba?
Pero yun nga Sir Ronald hindi naintindihan ng tao yung debate nila Tayong nakakaintindi. Dapat marunong ka mag-English. Nakita ko nga yung transcripts. Napaka-highfalutin yung English. Parang Roman Senate. Hindi ba siguro yun din ang kasama sa problema natin? The reason I say that, I just came from India the other week, di ba? I got stuck there also. And India is very similar, right? They had Jawaharlal Nehru, these great men of... And then napagod ng tao. Ay namin ng ganito, yung mga Anglophile, Cambridge, Oxford. Gusto nila Modi. Yung hindi ko alam, hindi ko maintindihan pag nagsasalita si Modi. Pero para siyang digong, di ba? So,
Yung anong gusto nila marinig, yun sasabihin.
exactly.
The populist ethos. No?
Yun nga isa. So now we're finally going to Duterte. So kasi we have to understand bakit nagkaroon ng ganitong populist backlash why are people going for this kind of, let's just call it clownish figures?
Because the liberal democratic institution failed to deliver, no? Yung
Ayan na si Anthony
what they were
Garcia.
created for, no? Yun yung problema. At itong failure na ito, na dapat sana mga progressive groups yung makikinabang.
Right.
Yung recidivist reactionary elements ng kanan ang nakikinabang. Patayin lahat yan, no? Patayin lahat yan para masolusyonan yung problema, di ba? Pero yung sinasabi nila no? Kaya yung ethos na yon, no? Yung populist ethos, dominated yung culture na problematic na because of education, because of the economic system. So, in a way, minmaximize niya yung weaknesses
Right.
no? At yung disenchantment, yung galit sa mga institutions nitong mga marginalized
Na
sectors
weaponize.
ito, no? Ay na-channel nila,
Yeah.
no? In a way, against modern elements. Yung kakaunti ng modern elements ng ating political economic system, yun pa yung tinamaan.
Yeah.
No? Kaya, we have to learn from that. Halimbawa, it's about brand. Sino bang dominant ngayon sa ating presidential preferences for 2028?
Tulfo,
Dalawang brand.
Sara.
Tulfo and Duterte brand, no?
Variations of on a theme.
Yes. No? Yung ganun. Walang sumusulpot na may substance, di ba? Walang sumusulpot na
Natitrigger na si Justice. Sige lang. Okay lang,
Diba?
Justice. Sige lang. Well, no, but Justice, I wanna ask you. Kasi, syempre, ito, far right, fascista, ako leftist, ikaw centrist. Bilang centrist dito, far fascist, communist. Anong kulang natin? Kasi kanina pa natin sinasabi, ito yung kulang sa voters, ito yung kulang sa media. I think we should be also honest that nagkulang din siguro tayo in our own capacity, no? Ako, I feel that